The top stories. ANA Forum concludes by condemning unfair meddling in the internal affairs of African nations. And Ethiopian athletes triumph at the 2022 Amsterdam Marathon. Hello and thank you for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Stay with us. The House of People's Representatives announced that the 15th National Flag Day will be celebrated on Monday, 17th October with various assortments. This year's National Flag Day will be celebrated with the theme of "Our flag is the manifestation of our diversity and the pillar of our sovereignty." According to the HPR, Monday's event marks the 15th year since National Flag Day was celebrated. The National Flag Day will be celebrated across the nation under the coordination of the House of People's Representatives. Ethiopia has obtained some $976 million from export trade during the first quarter of the current Ethiopian fiscal year. A performance evaluation of main macroeconomic and ministerial offices' first quarter plans of 2015 Ethiopian budget year is being conducted in Gondar City in the presence of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Presenting the quarterly performance report, Minister of Planning and Development Fitsum Asafa said that the foreign exchange flow increased by 14% in the stated period, indicating that some $976 million was earned from the export trade, of which $426 million was from agricultural products. The minister pointed out that the performance of the manufacturing and mining sectors has showed a slight decrease compared to the same period last year. However, she said flour export is one of the products that have made significant progress. Contraband and illegal trade are the bottlenecks of the sector, she said, adding that efforts will be exerted to improve the problem in the future. The minister has also mentioned that $67.2 million worth of foreign products have been substituted by domestic products during the stated period. Fitsum noted that government's revenue has increased by 8.6% in the 3 months' performance, adding that the nation has collected 93.1 billion birr from tax and non-tax revenues, out of which 51 billion birr was collected from income tax. IMF executive directors have commended Ethiopia's ambitious economic and monetary policy reforms, indicating their commitment to support the reform agenda through an IMF program upon further engagement. At the sidelines of the IMF and World Bank annual meetings, the Ethiopian delegation, led by the Minister of Finance Ahmed Shide, held constructive meetings with the IMF executive directors and advisors for China, France, Germany, United Kingdom, and Italy. The executive directors acknowledged Ethiopia's resilience amid the overlapping shocks it is currently facing. The directors have also commended the government's ambitious economic and monetary policy reforms, indicating their commitment to support the reform agenda through an IMF program upon further engagement. Minister of Finance Ahmed Shide briefed the executive directors on Ethiopia's current political and economic affairs progress made on Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform agenda. The minister emphasized the criticality and urgency of IMF support in view of the millions of people across the country who are being hit by the severe drought, high inflation, conflict, rising commodity prices, and other ongoing challenges. Ahmed acknowledged the IMF's recent visit to Ethiopia and the successful discussions around the policy reform areas that will address macro imbalances, tackle the forex exchange rate issues, tame inflation, and manage debt issues. Restructuring the political system is said to be crucial to avert the resurgence of unconstitutional changes of government in Africa. Unfair meddling over the internal affairs of African countries also posed threat on ensuring peace and security in the continent. This said while a panel discussion was held at the 10th Tana High-Level Forum in Bahar Dar, Amhara region. Shaggaw Yamata has the following.
Attending the 10th Tana Forum, participants put directions on how to tackle unconstitutional government changes, extremism, and international security influences in Africa. Participants expressed their confidence that the involvement of youth in the political system and establishing strong democratic institutions are remedies to tackle peace and security challenges in Africa. Participants presented their studies and forwarded solutions to seek African solutions for a problem. Solomon Ayele indicated that lack of accountable government system, weak democratic institutions, and absence of homegrown conflict-tackling mechanisms are the causes of unconstitutional power transfer taking place in Africa.
We have the norms for the promotion and maintenance of peace and security on the African continent, and we have the knowledge and understanding also of the signs for the emergence of conflict, the signals for military seizure of power, or the dangers of expansion of terrorism and the spike in incidents of terrorist attacks. But our capacity for responding to these challenges is not matched by all of the institutional policy knowledge instruments at our disposal. So this is the paradox that we have here on the African continent.
The former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn on his part underlined that lack of youth participation in political system, foreign interference in the name of humanitarian aid, and lack of strong democratic institutions are the causes for the recurrent coups in Africa.
Other continents, take it Northern America, Japan, or Europe, it's an aging population. And Africa is a young continent. But our political system doesn't include this group of citizens in the continent.
Is the suspicion within the armed forces of those countries that external powers that purport to be supporting in the war against terror and whatever are actually complicit in perpetuating crisis. Time has come for us to challenge the approach which has been adopted to date to conflict management in Africa, by which old colonial powers continue to play lead roles even in UN operations.
Participants also suggested that Africans must work hand in hand and provide political representation for the youth to establish strong democratic institutions.
It's not about working closed doors. No, Pan-Africanism is to give the African people to restore, to resume their pride, their dignity, their liberty, because African problems should be solved by the Africans themselves. Okay, we need the assistance, not the assistance, we need partnership, cooperation, but not assistance.
Discussing African peace and security issues, the 10th High-Level Tana Forum concluded on Sunday.
Meanwhile, some participants of the ongoing 10th Tana High-Level Forum told ETV that the forum is critical to thrash out major socio-economic concerns as well as exchange views on peace and security threats facing the continent. According to the participants, the forum will come up with ways of building resilience by placing citizens at the center and the state playing a role only when that is necessary. Take a look at their views.
This forum is attracting attention from the neighborhood, from the region as well as all across Africa, including the former president of the Ghana. So regarding the issues, a number of issues stand out. One is, of course, peace and security and stability. This still haunts Africa. Many countries are affected by the absence of peace, lack of stability, and security issues. That was one big issue that was covered.
And it is important, to raise that questions, like the issue of governance in Africa, the issue of security in Africa, the issue of peace and stability in Africa, but also the issue of the reaction of the population, which is all the resilience that the community and the communities are showing vis-à-vis instability or insecurity in that region. I think that yesterday we did a very rich panel.
The best solution for Africans is to do what? To pull resources together, to pull mental and resources together, find experts, gather around, negotiate, establish forums or strengthen the already existing forums so as to discuss and find an African solutions to an African problems. That is, I think, the model for the next decades, if not centuries, for Africa. Because in the past, as we know, because of so many historical reasons, African problems were discussed so miles and thousands of kilometers away. But I think it's now high time that all the heads of state and government, the current and former ones as well, what they really hammered home, the point was that we are masters of our own destiny. We need to get together. We need to find solutions. We need to talk as brothers and sisters and accommodate our differences, but focus based on mutual interest for our common destiny.
The Tana High-Level Forum has just concluded after 2 days of deliberation on pertinent issues concerning the state of peace and security in the continent. Participants underlined that marginalization and economic mismanagement brought Africans into the narratives of radicalization. Undue interference in the internal affairs of Africans, it was underscored, poses a significant challenge to the sovereignty of states. To shed more light on this, I'm now joined in the studio by our staff reporter, Daniel Kasahun, who attended all sessions of the forum in Bahir Dar City. A warm welcome to studio, Daniel.
Oh, thank you very much, Tabitha.
So among the many issues that were raised, what recommendations were put forward for the pressing issue of undue interference on the internal affairs of African states?
Yes, many issues were raised in the 10th and High-Level Forum for the past 3 days, and it has concluded today. And the session has underlined Africans need to look inside out in order to solve their problems. African problems are many, they're vast, beginning from food security. There is famine in the Horn of Africa. Climate change is affecting. Terrorism is ravaging almost many parts of the continent. There are lots of challenges odds Africa is facing, and all needs prudent solutions as prescribed by experts and professionals. The session, which has gathered together many experts in various fields, has deliberated on lots of issues, and central to the Tana Forum is peace and security. Africa is facing insecurities in many parts. How is it going to be challenged? Some say that insecurity is the problem of Africa. They assume that it is caused by Africans, but no. Most of the peace and security challenges Africa is facing now are imported problems. Imported insecurities. There are Western powers or foreigners who mastermind a problem and who export problem to the continent. Even it's their market. They sell armaments and they make Africa busy in order to colonize again. Neocolonialism is taking a new shape. And we shouldn't blame only Africans for the insecurity they are facing. But the hands of the Western powers is immense. We can mention Libya. We can mention the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring that happened in North Africa, it was masterminded and led by foreign powers. Now, where is Libya now? It's divided into two, West and East. The West is supported by one foreign power, the other is from the other power. Different groups support different factions, and they are in trouble. They are almost, they don't have government now, formal government. They are still trying to have a formal government. We remember where were the Libyan people, how they were living. They were having peace and almost prosperity. But now they are being challenged.
Yeah, but so what recommendations were put forward to manage these issues? Because the problems are evident, but what can be done to help control the situation of external interference?
Yeah, the problem of Africans is they point their fingers to others. It is somebody or some country. The recommendation is Africans must look inward to outward. They have to take responsibilities. Take, for example, we have climate change effects which are affecting the continent. For so long, we have been criticizing the industrial powers that caused the climate change. Of course, yes, they have done it. But we shouldn't remain, Africa shouldn't remain lamenting.
Yeah, pointing fingers.
Yeah. Instead, they have to take prudent measures like the Ethiopian Prime Minister has pioneered and has achieved. We have heard it from the news. The ministerial session in Bahar Dar has evaluated its performance in its green legacy initiatives. This initiative is a good example for all African countries to build resilience against adverse effects of climate change. Some of the participants were disappointing. I was disappointed. Some of them cried for getting wheat from Ukraine. We know in what situation now Ukraine is existing. But they expect, they want to import wheat from Ukraine. This is shameful. For Africans having this 60% arable land with huge resources, lots of waters. The example of Ethiopia in producing wheat. Even Ethiopia is going to export wheat to Kenya. Agreement has been made. This kind of interventions has to be in place. Pointing fingers, it doesn't help. Africans have to have, as the Prime Minister of Ethiopia said it yesterday, they have to have their homegrown approach in order to tackle their problems. Otherwise, African problems will not be solved easily.
And looking for solutions inward rather than outwards and expecting help from outside. Like what Ethiopia is doing now is a great example to many African states. What we're doing with the green legacy, what we're doing with the wheat production, as you said, that's a great example for other Africans to emulate.
Right.
Yeah.
Ethiopia is always in the forefront in leading the continent.
Exactly.
They look Ethiopia for solutions because Ethiopia was the only non-colonized country which took steps for the independence of, which took lots of steps for the independence of the continent. Now Ethiopia is again taking another responsibility for decolonization. Africa needs to decolonize the mindset of its people. Otherwise, unless the mindset of Africans is changed, challenges will not be eradicated easily. That was recommended.
All right, Daniel Kasaun, our staff reporter, thank you for illuminating on the pertinent ideas raised in the forum with such thorough explanations. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
A great evening to you. An Ethiopian and Djiboutian youth delegate said the tree planting program held in Djibouti binds the two countries' long-standing relationship with green development. Ethiopian Green Youth and Djibouti youth have planted tree seedlings in Arta region of Djibouti. Teguster Nisa has more on this.
Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative themed Plant African Fraternity is being held at in Djibouti in collaboration with Ethiopia's Green Legacy Delegation in Djibouti Youth. Ethiopian Green Legacy Youth Delegation and Djibouti Youth have planted tree seedling in Arta region of Djibouti with the aim of strengthening African brotherhood. During the event, Djibouti Agriculture Minister Ahmed Mohamed Awale said the program would consolidate relations between Ethiopia and Djibouti youth and bolster the good relationship between the two countries.
I would like to grant to say that Ethiopia has offered to Djibouti 60,000 plants of trees. It is symbolic. The strong relationship between Ethiopia and Djibouti. And it is historical, and this event will crystallize the relation existing between Ethiopia and Djibouti. And we are brothers more than 100 years ago, and we continue on this.
Speaking at the event, Ethiopian Ambassador to Djibouti, Brahanu Tsaggaye, underscored that the program is aimed at enhancing the long-standing relations of the two countries.
ይሄኛው ችግኝ ተከላ ፕሮግራም የሁለቱን ሀገሮች ግንኙነት
This Green Legacy program's sole purpose is to strengthen African brotherhood between the two nations. This very program, which is spearheaded by Ethiopian government, is also aimed at tackling climate change challenges while sending out seedlings to neighboring countries.
የአየር ለውጥን ችግር ለመቋቋም በኢትዮጵያ የተጀመረውን
According to the youth of both countries, the future of the two countries is bright with a collective endeavor. The youth also vowed to engage in activities geared towards strengthening the two countries' relationship. A youth from Djibouti on her part extended her gratitude for brother nation Ethiopia for taking the initiative.
Today we are just here to plant some tree. So, and we would like to thank our brothers Ethiopian, and they come just today, and they come today to plant some tree here in the Arta barrage. So we would like to say thank you, and you are always welcome.
It is to be recalled that some 240,000 tree seedlings were provided to Djibouti in the first and second rounds tree planting program held in Djibouti as part of expanding Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative to neighboring countries. The third round is geared towards bolstering the already strong friendship between the two countries, it was learned.
New ideas, new perspectives, and new viewpoints. We are coming to you with renewed commitments through our new programs, Explore Ethiopia and Diplomatic Insight, because we believe that you deserve to know the truth. For global perspectives on local matters regarding Ethiopia, join us on Addis Dialogue, featuring distinguished guests from Africa and the entire globe on ETV Language, the voice of diversity and renaissance.